All right, welcome everybody to Dreams in Space Masterclass. So today, I just want to talk about a little bit about what I do and just the really cool, empowering state dreams can bring in the space industry. I know some of you have been following me for quite some time, so I'm sure you've seen a lot of my various topics that I can bring up with the dreams. But today, I really just want to explore just what dreams are and how it can actually help in the space industry. So welcome to my masterclass. I'm Chelsey Turpening Coxsey. I work with Dreams for about 5 years now. I'm associated with the National Association of Dream Studies. And I've been hanging out in the space industry for a good portion of the year now and working towards building some of my own programs to integrate into analog missions, as well as my Mind Map to Space program that I developed to kind of help people just learn how to collaborate with their subconscious mind in the space industry and find their path to space or in the space industry career in general, and a sense of purpose. I always say the subconscious mind is always like 10 steps ahead of you. So if you understand how it works, you can really get as creative as you want with how you choose to collaborate and innovate with it. And that's the beauty of the subconscious mind. I believe we all are kind of unique, like a thumbprint in this aspect. So what works for someone might not work for the other person. And I always find that to be a very curious muse or exploration on my own interest. So earlier today, to start out, I wanted to talk about just cool things with dreams and innovation as like the intro. And as I was Googling, I noticed I've always hear these stories of people be like, okay, Einstein with the relativity of the or his theory of relativity and how he saw it through daydreaming, or like how the was the atomic model and how he saw that as a dream. In the dream, it was a planet with, I believe, two rotating moons. And it really was something he was trying to problem solve in the daytime. And his subconscious mind gave him an example of what that was to where he understood the concept behind it and was able to bring it into a tangible thing into his work. So I was just, it's always find it fascinating. So as some other fun examples, just to inspire everybody on what is some of the history with dreams, we also have the periodical table, which I thought was very fascinating. Apparently, he had seen it in a dream, and his subconscious mind had actually organized it into all the different categories and laid it out into the chart. And he was just able to recall the dream and the memory of that and transfer it over into the daytime. And now we have the periodical table. So I was like, oh, that's very cool. And another one I found very fascinating, which reminds me of how dreams can really take us into a deeper understanding of levels of science that I think we today in our scientific realm or industry are trying to understand some of these deeper layers of it. And he dreamt of the DNA structure, uh, and that is how he understood the DNA structure, was through his subconscious mind and dreaming. It basically took everything that he understood and was trying to collaborate in the daytime. And it allowed him to experience it in a dream state to where it clicked and understood. And then he was able to bring it into his daytime and his, career and studies. Um, so I love that because sometimes I always say, it's interesting, but your subconscious mind or your conscious mind can only remember and really gather so much data at one time, but your subconscious mind can gather everything like a supercomputer. I often like to compare it to like AI or like because AI is so common and popular now that it's hard not to notice some of the comparisons between how our brain works and how AI operates too. So it's always kind of working in the background. It's gathering data, it's putting puzzle pieces together and sorting everything out way quicker and way more efficient than your conscious mind is. So I find that to be very fascinating, and it always brings up this question that really inspires a lot of my work and what I'm doing. And it's okay, well, now what? How do we use it as a tool? I grew up kind of like in a construction family, so we always had like tools and everyone was always building stuff. So I always love understanding structures of things and building a foundation and developing and having different tools. So I feel like I do that a lot when I work with the human psyche and the human mind in my own way. So the question is today is how do we actually utilize this, especially in the space industry? We have all these brilliant minds, but a lot of things that I've noticed is a lot of the stress management, the mental health and well-being, the overdrive of what we're trying to do with, as an industry and trying to habitate other planets. It's exhausting. So I think when it comes down to it, is the way we take care of our inner world affects the way and it affects our outer world. And I think that even works with innovation. I know that when we're trying to overload our minds, right, our conscious mind or the frontal lobe parts of yourself, it kind of gets a little cross-wired and goes a little haywire. And once you have some of these things hit the system, it's really hard to untangle with the stress, anxiety, not having good sleep, or being able to take care of the full system properly. So as one thing for me is, okay, we can utilize it for things in that way. But I also feel that dreams inspire and then bring up important questions on how does consciousness work? I believe dreams are kind of giving us an outlet of things that we don't fully understand yet, logically. So dreams let us experience a lot of interesting things. And we see this throughout history with like shamanism, indigenous cultures, and every culture around the world has their own relationship with the subconscious mind or dream specifically. So uh, delving into what is a dream, here I wanted to show some of the cool superpower things that can develop in the dream states. And let me share my screen here for a second. Yes, this one. Okay. Let me, sorry, not the most techie. How do I move this? Or how do I move that? Okay. Dreams as a cognitive powerhouse. What I love most about dreams is it's allowing us to experience things in a simulated reality. And I think there's a lot of potential in this. So first I'd like to talk about is the dreaming and the brain cognitive science. Now, when we're going into a dream state, we realize that is the REM space. Uh, that's where a lot of the dreams are happening. And this is kind of what I would consider like where all the cool AI comparisons of the subconscious mind comes about. You have memory consolidation and problem solving is a really big one, but it does way more than this. This is where your subconscious mind comes out to play. The front lobe area, when you're in REM, your frontal lobe is relaxed and you're in the middle parts of your brain, right? And this is a lot of emotional intelligence and where like I would consider a lot of the AI compatibilities come out. So in that we've got you have problem solving, you've got emotional regulation and emotional pattern recognition of anything that's going on your day, or just even the history of your life. Your subconscious mind brings it all up if it's still hindering the system or causing issues in your daytime. It gives you alerts on your actual health, like your physical health, and it'll feed data back. It gives you information and data on your mental and physical, really. It's also taking all of your daytime experiences and anything that came across your subconscious radar and it's storing it into your like memory base, and even filing it and organizing into certain areas of importance and value. It is this huge superhuman tracker information. But the beauty in that is it's not just telling you what's wrong with the system. It's also trying to problem solve it and fix it and suggest things for you as well. So this is a lot where I work with my clients where they learn to just learn to have this communication and understand what the data is and where it's coming from. Um, so that's a lot of like the inner world human psyche where your subconscious mind is really just doing a lot of the inner work. Interesting also is the neuroplasticity in dreams. And because of dreams, I have a very big love for neuroplasticity. Dreams are neural rewiring. Neuroplasticity works when you're able to create a new experience and attach a neuron to that, which will then create like this neural pathway. And when you have that connection, eventually what it can do is change the way you're thinking, or this evolution in that, right? Or changing the experience. So when you have neuroplasticity and dreams intentionally, you can rewire and go have new experiences. So it'd be things that you would not have had in your physical life. Like maybe a common theme is having dreams of being in space, right? Or like on a spaceship, or maybe being on planet Mars. These are quite common that I always hear a lot of people in the space industry having. And they're exciting and they have an emotional, deep connection to that. Um, but it gets very interesting when you're able to combine lucid dreaming with these spaces because now your brain, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. When it creates that neuron connection to the experience, it feels it is real. So you start kind of changing your way and your pattern, and your subconscious mind will start looking for more of that and connecting, which is really interesting when you start working with like subconscious incubation, where you incubate an idea or a desire or something you want to problem solve or work on, and having it kind of take off and have the subconscious do what it does. That would be a lot of like the neuroplasticity realm. Now, with the lucid dreaming, it gets very fun. Lucid dreaming is just an extreme state of awareness where you know you're in a dream and you can control the simulated reality however you choose. A lot of people tend to use lucid dreaming as a sport, but there's a very serious way to utilize this actually, especially when you're looking at analog missions, space exploration, or even engineering and problem solving. I have heard of plenty of engineers who have dreamt of things that they're trying to build and experience it in the dream state, almost lucidly interacting with the equipment they're trying to develop in the physical daytime and problem solving it. Being able to simulate with it and to work it and to see how the whole thing operates. I've also know that, we're able to practice lucid dreaming in the sense of, if you were trying to explore a cave, right, for maybe an analog mission, and you want to dream of this experience over and over again, so you could start building the neuroplasticity towards it, but also getting the cognitive science starting to develop behind the experience too. That way, when you go into the real time, you've already trained and prepared for it in a very simulated way. Um, the beautiful thing also I love most about dreams are brain waves and their roles, which there's a lot to this. So we're only going to touch base on just two of them right now. We've got our theta brain waves, which are dominant in the REM. So this is like a very deeper state of trance where the dreamings come through. The lesser one is the gamma waves. That is big into like the daydreaming. And this is what I find interesting with the gamma waves. We tend to have a lot of imagination and daydreaming in this state, which actually develops divergent thinking at the end of the day, doing it out of the box. Uh, when you're able to develop that, so they call it the DMN, which is the default mode network. So people who tend to dream more or daydream more, or even nap during the day and have a dream and go into those brainwave states for just a little while and then come back out, they tend to be much better at problem solving, innovative, creativity, imagination, development, all the above. So a lot of this is just a little bit of what comes, right, with the superpower extent of what dreams really bring to the table. And dreams, of course, are only just one expression of the subconscious mind. Um, so let me go to the next question here was, now that we understand kind of the cool stuff the brain can do or the subconscious mind and like collaborating with it, um, oops, sorry. Oh yeah, how do we actually start utilizing these and turning it into the tool? Now, I spend a lot of time in my programs and like in my mind map to space, like sharing a lot of these techniques openly. I also have them on my YouTube channel, which I do share on LinkedIn quite often if anyone's interested. But the next thing I like to do is this is kind of how I broke down some of this genius and how it operates. And I think this is a first step that I have a lot of my clients start with. So this is what I call the trifecta of genius. And because I work with psychoanalysis a lot with the Jungian, you can break yourself down into a lot of different parts or aspects. But I kind of broke it down into just three major categories: the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the soul. And I realized they each play a role and they all have their own brilliance. So people historically tend to show brilliance in one of these categories. I think when you've got all three of them together, you have a total powerhouse. So this is something that I work a lot with my clients in developing techniques for. So I'll start with the soul I usually vision the soul at the top. The soul's this visionary, in the sense that it sees beyond like your circumstances and it knows this in-depth wisdom of that matches like your values, a sense of purpose, how your operating systems are, and like staying more authentic to who you are. The soul is like feel extremely visionary. It kind of allows you just to really go off and explore and see like this vision within yourself of something you would want to create or have an answer to. The subconscious mind then I know is inspired by the soul. So normally what I have is my clients do a meditation. I make them go through all three parts. So the subconscious mind is the source of intuition and innovative ideas. The subconscious mind takes whatever comes from the soul and it comes up with a million different ideas and pathways and routes to get the job done, to go from point A to point B. It will also test run a lot of these things and collaborate it and come up with somewhat of a game plan. But with all these ideas, sometimes they get clogged up, right? And they always don't come into action. Your conscious mind is what takes that and turns, it's the architect, is what I call it. And it takes everything from the subconscious mind and it makes it a tangible physical result, something that you're bringing into your physical reality. If it's an idea into a physical product, building a business, anything idea wise will process through these things. And when you have all three of them going together, uh, it is a total up there. Sorry, I'm trying to mess with technology at the same time. It's what I call the triple threat or the powerhouse. So when your soul, your subconscious, and your conscious mind are in coherence, you're operating from a place of inner alignment where creative genius flows easily. Here's how it enhances problem solving and creation. So the soul offers a vision of what you want to create, infused with passion and meaning, or sense of purpose, or even your value systems. Your subconscious mind is then inspired by that and generates the creative ideas that support the vision, often in spontaneous and innovative ways, dreams as well. Then the conscious mind takes all of these ideas and it selects which one is the most tangible or perfect for it makes the choice of that. And it organizes these ideas into a coherent, actionable plan to bring them to life. Um, and I really think when one of these aspects is not in balance or working with the system properly, it causes like a blockage in the system. So this is a basic foundation of a lot of what I use when I'm working with my clients. Let me stop sharing screen real quick. I'm so sorry. One second. Stop share. Okay. All right. So when we're looking at these three parts of ourselves and we think, how do we utilize this, right? Each one has its strengths and its own techniques and things that can come about with this. I believe the easiest way to develop a dialogue with this is just meditation or just going quiet and inward within yourself, right? And when you're tapping into these parts of yourself, I often have people envision it like they're actually dialoguing with their soul, with their subconscious mind, and with their conscious mind as a team or like a round table. I've noticed that when people tend to do this every day, even for like 10 minutes in the morning, they're well more balanced and equipped and kind of zoned in and focused on what their intentions are for the day, for their personal lives, holding a sense of vision and purpose, tend to be more at fulfillment too, and a lot better just emotional regulating and checking in with themselves. So that's like one of the things I think is a really big tool. Another one, though, is also journaling our dreams and learning how to create this understanding symbolism, really, at the end of the day, as the subconscious mind does speak in symbolism. So, one of the tools I often suggest that everyone always starts with is just start writing them down in the morning. Because over time, you'll start to notice that your subconscious mind isn't giving you isolated little stories. These all go together as one large storyline. And when you're able to look at the fullness of it, you can track emotional patterns, how things are making you feel. You can track certain data. A lot of people get as creative as they want. So I'm always like, I have some people that track their physical health, some people that are tracking their sleep, some people who are tracking their depression or their anxiety or stress, trying to problem solve. all of that good stuff. When you're able to sit down and actually look at what's going on in your own like journal space, that's huge. I also say it's fun as a side note to use I use ChatGPT and AI a lot with mine. And that's like very helpful too. Um, okay. And other tools, sorry, I was getting a little ADHD. Oh, okay, so done with my little notes. Other tools I have is practice lucid dreaming and awareness. When you actually start recalling and trying to remember your dreams, it's actually quite easy because it's something that's naturally already within you. So you'll start noticing the patterns in your emotional connections to the meaning of your dreams, and you'll be able to start collaborating with it more. But it's more than just a relationship that you're going to carry in the night. You'll be interacting with these parts of yourself in the day and also getting creative on what that looks like. And that's why I say everyone's like a thumbprint, and they're very unique on how they do that. And what works for some person, one might not work for the other. Um, and then we've got a lot of different things. So I always say it becomes a lifestyle, really, when you're trying to develop tools. Now, when I'm getting into some of my programs, I do actually develop certain tools that I believe will help develop cognitive abilities into certain areas. So they kind of get a little out there on my YouTube channel, not gonna lie. But a lot of them is just learning how to interact and have this inner dialogue with yourself. Then we get into things where we're expanding and developing your imagination and that default mode network, the DMN, and a bunch of things like that through like hypnosis and other stuff. But it's just understanding, like, at the end of the day, how do you tap into these brainwave states and start trying to be creative on how you bring it in? So a lot of the time when I work with clients, I don't give them a laid out format. I usually give them like a grounding idea of a modality, and then they go off of that and kind of develop their own of what works for them. Um, and with that said, I believe what that really could look like in the space industry would be very fascinating in the sense that if everyone understood how to go into their own internal world to kind of like go through their own journey of that. They call it the myth, your inner mythology, your inner hero's journey. But it does start inward first. But when you go through and you understand how you operate and how you work and where this sense of purpose and identity comes from, the way you tackle the world and challenges and navigate around you are very different. I have seen dreams help lead clients into different business choices or avenues. Seen it take people around the world to different opportunities. I've seen it help them navigate depression and their mental well-being. I've seen it help build business plans. Um, it's whatever you really want to focus on it. And that's where dream incubation comes into play a lot. And we do a lot of this with clients too. So I always encourage if anyone wants to practice this, it's quite simple, but just when you fall asleep, go in a meditative state and just release all of the stress and thoughts of that you want to have from your day. And just think of one thing that you would like a response on. Maybe it's trying to problem solve something in your personal life. Maybe it's trying to collaborate with your subconscious mind on a work project, even. But the more you practice and give the attention to this space, the more you're going to start getting a response back. And it's honestly very interesting and in depth. So there's a lot of things that can come from this. I believe it's going to help with our engineering. I believe there's like an engineering gap where what we want to do with Mars, we still have a very large chunk gap we have to jump in our tech world to be able to do a lot of that. And I believe that obviously starts internally in how we're managing our brains and how we even view our own genius and processing through that and using it. So I think when we're collaborating with these untapped potential of the subconscious mind, we're going to see a huge burst with that in collaboration, and it's going to show in our tech. It's going to show in how our perspective towards humans going to space, how we want to handle and navigate that. I think it's going to bring a lot of humanity back, a lot of sense of purpose, a lot of innovation, and I think it's going to really help in some of the interesting topics that I'll leave for another conversation is how consciousness works. And at the end of the day, can we consciously be telepathic? Can we do remote viewing? Are a lot of these things are already have research going on and it's looking pretty promising, to be honest. So at the end of the day, dreams kind of open the door up to maybe this would change the game and how we even exist physically in space and what the elements in the nature around us. And I feel at the end of the day, it almost kind of goes back to primitive cultures and how we existed here, trying to, inhabit planet Earth. However, our origin story really goes, right? We did have to work and learn, and it was a very spiritual thing, a very primitive thing, very hunter's mentality and survival. And I think when we go and do things like this, we will be touching back with that a little bit. And dreams were a huge part of that, connecting to something in the sense of a purpose of being human. So I think it's going to bring a lot of passion, a lot of innovation. I think it's going to look very interesting in the analog mission spaces, enhancing just research across the board. Because at that point, you'll be using your left brain and your right brain pretty efficiently. So, and that's really kind of a lot of the stuff I'm working on with the analog mission space as well. That's still in a lot of development though at the moment, but it's been a lot of fun. But with that, I also want to open the door that I do have like opportunities and some free workshops that I do host for those who do want to explore their dreams. I teach a lot of self-application tools and things that you can use and just do a lot of this on your own. But it also creates a really open space to conversate and actually work through dreams as well. So if anyone is interested and wants to, be curious about their dreams and start exploring this untapped potential of their subconscious mind, I would love to introduce you. I feel like Alice in Wonderland a little bit. We're like, come, we have cookies. But it is a lot of fun. It's very explorative, and we do have a lot of good amount of people that show up. So that's every Tuesday or every other Tuesday. So it'll be 2 weeks from now. So if anyone is interested in the World of Dreams workshops, message me on LinkedIn and I'll connect you with that. And then I also have my Mind Map to Space cohorts, which is a 4-week crash course in a lot of the tools and things that I've been talking about in my own development as well. Basically, crash coursing you on how to interact with your subconscious mind, start incubating ideas that you want to intentionally set for the project of the 4 weeks, and really see what comes out with the subconscious mind on a lot of that. And it'll be fun for anyone who's going through a lot of transitions, especially career wise right now, because I know there's a lot of people kind of transitioning through jobs at the moment. So this is be a very powerful like inner guiding system. I always say I always say if like you wish life came with like a roadmap or a manual, and I was like, well, it technically does because your subconscious mind behaves as this. So it's a great way to collaborate and see, maybe what sense of direction you need even. So some of the things I have at the time being. And with that, I did promise to leave some time for questions. I feel like I just talked a lot. So I'm going to open the platform for anyone to ask any questions. Don't be shy. Or you can use the chat if you need to. And if not, that's fine. You can always message me later if you think of something.
Chelsey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I just wanted to say this was fascinating. Um, Definitely want to learn more about this. So I'll reach out to you offline. I'd love to get more information about this. If you've got any other past videos, any books, any papers you may have written, I would really like to take a deeper dive into this because some of the things that you were saying, I can absolutely relate to. Manifestation is a very powerful thing.
Yeah,
Um, and I see that this kind of it all fits. It's cool. So thank you for doing this, and I look forward to hearing more about what you're doing. Thank you.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, it's huge. Manifestation is just a form of incubating an idea or a desire in the subconscious mind. And it's kind of just a subconscious mind taking the reins for you a little bit and working behind the scenes on it, which is really handy. Um, Anybody else before we, I guess, end the call? All right, that's fine. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining. This is awesome. I'm going to be doing more of these probably about once a month. If you're interested in joining the World of Dreams workshops, let me know. We just had one yesterday, so the next one is 2 weeks from yesterday. But yeah, love to come explore, and I hope to talk to you guys again here soon.